In this video, you will learn how to divide with fractions. And now when we're dividing, we're not just doing the basic division with just regular numbers, but we are working in the context of algebra. So we're going to have some variables in here, and we're going to have some different expressions that you might need to simplify, like by factoring first, before you can get your final answer. So as we're dividing, just a reminder of our division rule for fractions. When we're dividing, what we are doing is we are multiplying by the reciprocal. So for example, if you had a over b divided by c over d, that is the same thing as multiplying. Instead of c over d, it's multiplying by d over c. So with actual numbers, we see here negative 5 over 3 divided by 10 over 12. When I divide by 10 over 12, that is the same thing as multiplying by 12 over 10. So what I can do is I can simplify first, and then I could multiply after. So we see the 5 and the 10. We can divide both by 5 to get 1 and a 2. The 12 and the 3 can divide both by 3 to get 4 and 1. And then here the 4 and the 2 can divide. That's going to give me 2 over 1. So I have negative 1 times 2 over 1 times 1. And that's going to give me negative 2 over 1, which is negative 2. Now we're going to throw in variables and variable expressions. So here we have 20 divided by x squared minus 16 divided by 24 over x plus 4. So first thing, we can think of this division as multiplying by the reciprocal. So I can think of this as multiplying by x plus 4 over 24. Now when we work with these, make sure you know how to factor. If you don't know how to factor, then you really will be struggling with this lesson. So you might need to go back and practice with factoring. Because here x squared minus 16 can factor because that is a difference of squares. When I factor, that becomes x minus 4 times x plus 4. Now that I've factored, I can simplify. So we have x plus 4 on the top, can divide with x plus 4 on the bottom. And then 20 over 24, I can divide both by 4 to get 5 over 6. So what I have is 5 on the top, and then 6 times the x minus 4 on the bottom. So that would be my solution. A couple more examples. Example 3, we have this expression. So we have x squared minus x minus 12 over 3x minus 6 divided by x squared plus 5x plus 6 over x squared minus 8x plus 12. So the first thing I want to do is think of this division as multiplying by the reciprocal. So I can write this as multiply by x squared minus 8x plus 12 over x squared plus 5x plus 6. Now from here, I need to factor. So make sure you know how to factor at this point. So here, the numerator, x squared minus x minus 12, that can factor, and you would get x minus 4 times x plus 3. And then that's over 3x minus 6. And if needed, I could actually factor a 3 out of there. All right, so I factor 3 out of the bottom. I have x minus 2 left over. Times, and then for the second fraction, we can factor x squared minus 8x plus 12. We would get x minus 6 times x minus 2. And then the denominator, x squared plus 5x plus 6, that can factor, and you'd get x plus 3 times x plus 2. Alright, so from here, now that I've factored, I can start canceling things out before I multiply. So notice x minus 2 can divide with x minus 2 up here. X plus 3 can divide with x plus 3 in the bottom. And that is it. So my final answer would have x minus 4 times x minus 6 on the top, and divided by 3 times x plus 2 on the bottom. So this here would be my solution. Now one more example. Here we have 3x over 2y cubed divided by x squared over y times x over 6. So we can do a couple things here. We could raise everything to the third power, that is here in the parentheses. So 3 to the third power is 3 times 3 times 3, which is 27. Then you have x to the third power divided by 2 to the third power, which is 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8, and then y to the third power as well. And then here we have divided by x squared over y, which I can think of as multiplying by the reciprocal, which is multiplying by y over x squared, and then times that by x over 6. So from here we can start dividing things out. We see that we have 27 and then a 6. 27 on the top, 6 on the bottom. I can divide both by 3, and that would give me 9 over 2. Alright, and then looking at the x's, we have x to the third divided by x squared. When I divide, I subtract the exponents. 3 minus 2 gives me 1. So we have x to the first power, and that goes on the top. So we have 9, we have x, another x, that's going to be 9x squared on the top. And then we have the y as well. So we see here a y on the top, y to the third on the bottom. Those can divide. And when I divide, I'm going to have y squared left over on the bottom. So on the bottom we have 8 times 2 is 16, and then y squared, and that would be it. So we have 9x squared over 16y squared. And that concludes our lesson for today. We will see you next time.